Gratitude is one of the most powerful and transformative habits you can cultivate in your life. It may seem simple, just the act of being thankful, but do not let its simplicity fool you. Gratitude has the power to change your perspective, your emotions, your relationships, and your outcomes. It is not just a feeling, it is a mindset, a choice, and a way of life. When you begin to practice gratitude consistently, you will notice a shift, a quiet, yet profound change in the way you experience the world. Gratitude changes your focus. Instead of dwelling on what is missing, it turns your attention to what is already present. It lifts your eyes from lack to abundance, from frustration to fulfillment. And when your focus changes, everything else changes. Your energy becomes lighter. Your outlook becomes more optimistic. You begin to see opportunity where before you saw limitation. This mental shift creates an environment inside you that welcomes more peace, more success, more joy. You see, the human mind is always searching for patterns. It looks for what it expects to find. When you train your mind to look for the good, it starts to find it more often. Gratitude acts like a filter once installed. It allows you to view your life through a lens that highlights the positive. And the more you see to be thankful for, the more things you begin to notice that deserve your appreciation. This cycle creates momentum, and that momentum becomes a magnet for abundance. Gratitude also strengthens your emotional resilience. Life will not always go the way you plan. There will be setbacks, failures, disappointments, and heartaches. But gratitude gives you the ability to stand firm during those storms. It allows you to say, "This is hard, but I still have something to be thankful for." That single thought can shift despair into hope. It can turn a breakdown into a breakthrough. Gratitude doesn't remove the pain, but it gives it perspective. It reminds you that even in difficulty, life still offers gifts. When you practice gratitude, you rewire your brain. Neuroscience tells us that regularly focusing on what we're thankful for can increase serotonin and dopamine, two chemicals linked to happiness and well-being. Over time, this practice physically changes the structure of the brain, making it easier to return to a grateful state even during stress. This isn't magic, it's mental conditioning, and like all forms of training, the more you do it, the stronger it becomes. Beyond personal peace, gratitude also transforms relationships. When you express appreciation to others, you build trust, connection, and goodwill. People want to be around those who notice and value them. Gratitude spoken out loud creates warmth and mutual respect. It opens the heart and removes the walls that separate us. Whether in family, friendships, or professional settings, the power of sincere appreciation cannot be overstated. It turns acquaintances into allies, co-workers into collaborators, and strangers into supporters. Gratitude also activates one of the most underrated principles of success, contentment. This doesn't mean you become complacent or stop striving for more. It means that while you work for what you want, you are not miserable in the meantime. You are not living in a state of constant deficiency, always waiting for the next thing to be happy. You carry joy with you as you pursue your goals. That inner peace becomes a foundation, a place of strength that supports you while you reach for more. And ironically, it's from this place of contentment that more begins to flow into your life. Why? Because the person who is already grateful is ready to receive more without being consumed by it. They can handle increase without arrogance. They can experience growth without losing balance. They don't chase success to feel worthy, they are already full. And so they attract from a state of wholeness, not neediness. This is the kind of energy that draws in better opportunities, deeper relationships, and greater achievements. Gratitude also expands your vision. It helps you see how far you've come, even if you're not yet where you want to be. It reminds you of the progress, the lessons, the growth, and the blessings along the way. It brings your awareness to the little wins, things you once prayed or worked hard for that you now experience every day. Most people miss these moments because they're too focused on what's next. Gratitude keeps you grounded in the present while still excited for the future. A grateful person walks differently. They speak differently. They carry themselves with a lightness that can't be faked and a strength that can't be shaken. They are rooted in the reality that life is a gift, not a guarantee. And because of that, they waste less time, love more freely, and live more fully. You don't need more to be grateful, you need gratitude to see how much you already have. And when you start seeing it, when you start saying thank you not just with your words, but with your attitude, your actions, and your presence, life opens up in unexpected ways. Doors you never knew existed begin to appear. People you need seem to cross your path. Ideas and opportunities seem to come out of nowhere. It's not coincidence, it's alignment. Gratitude aligns you with the flow of abundance. So if you want to change your life, Don't just chase what you want. Cherish what you have. Start each day by naming a few things you're thankful for. End each day by reflecting on what went right. Look at the people in your life and tell them they matter. Look at the progress you've made and honor it. Look at the obstacles you've overcome and be proud of your strength. And when challenges come again, as they always do, return to gratitude. Let it be your anchor, your compass, and your power. Gratitude is not weakness. It is not denial. It is strength. It is wisdom. It is the daily decision to see the good, to speak the good, and to expect more good, not because life is perfect, but because you've trained your heart to find the gold in every moment. And when you do that, you don't just feel better, you live better. You live with depth. You live with richness. You live with abundance. Because gratitude doesn't just change your attitude, it opens the door to more of everything you're seeking. Lifelong learning is one of the greatest commitments a person can make, not just for success, but for personal power, relevance, and fulfillment. The moment you decide that learning does not end with school or formal education, you begin to unlock a life of endless growth. Learning is not confined to classrooms or textbooks. It is everywhere, in conversations, in failures, in books, in silence, in the habits of those more experienced than you, and even in your own mistakes. The person who chooses to learn for life is the person who refuses to settle. They know that potential is not fixed, it is a living, breathing force that expands when it is fed. In a world that never stops changing, the person who stops learning begins to fall behind. New technologies emerge, industries shift, cultures evolve. The way we think, work, connect, and solve problems is constantly being reshaped. And the only way to stay relevant, impactful, and effective is to keep learning. The moment you believe you know enough, you've already limited what you can become. Pride in what you already know is the enemy of possibility. But humility, the kind that says, there's still more to discover, more to understand, more to master, is the foundation of wisdom. Lifelong learning sharpens your thinking. It refines your ability to reason, to ask better questions, to connect ideas across disciplines. It teaches you how to adapt rather than react. Instead of being surprised by change, you anticipate it. Instead of resisting growth, you pursue it. This doesn't just make you smarter, it makes you more valuable. In every environment, professional, personal, or creative, the person who keeps learning becomes the one others look to for guidance, solutions, and innovation. More importantly, lifelong learning fuels your self-confidence. As you acquire new knowledge and skills, your belief in yourself grows. You begin to trust your ability to figure things out, even when you're outside of your comfort zone. You no longer fear the unknown, you face it with curiosity. You are no longer limited by what you don't know, because you've trained yourself to learn what you need to know. Confidence doesn't just come from past success, it comes from being willing to stay a student, no matter how much you've achieved. There is a freedom that comes with learning. You realize that you're not stuck. You're not static. You are capable of growth in any area: communication, your emotional intelligence, your leadership, your creativity, your discipline. You can change, you can improve, and that realization is power. It means your future is not a continuation of your past. It's a canvas waiting to be painted with new knowledge, new insight, and new action. Lifelong learners understand that mistakes are part of the journey. They don't fear failure, they analyze it. They reflect, adjust, and try again with greater clarity. Every setback becomes a classroom. Every obstacle becomes an opportunity to learn something deeper, not just about the world, but about themselves. That kind of learning builds character. It deepens patience. It strengthens resilience. It teaches you how to stand when it would be easier to quit. Lifelong learning is also the key to staying passionate. People often talk about losing motivation, losing interest, or losing their spark. What they don't realize is that growth is one of the greatest sources of energy. When you're learning, you're expanding. You're discovering new ways to think, new things to try, and new levels of yourself you didn't even know existed. That process reignites your drive. It reminds you that there is always more to explore, more to become, more to give. And let's not forget the joy of learning itself. There's something deeply fulfilling about engaging your mind, about stretching beyond what's comfortable, about diving into a subject simply because it fascinates you. That joy is something no one can take from you. It's not dependent on approval, grades, or outcomes. It's rooted in your relationship with curiosity. And the more you feed that curiosity, the more alive you feel. Lifelong learning doesn't require hours of study or a return to school. It starts with a decision to approach life with the eyes of a student. It can be reading 10 pages of a great book every morning. It can be watching a documentary instead of scrolling social media. It can be asking better questions when talking to people, or reflecting more deeply on your own experiences. It's listening, observing, practicing, asking why. It's taking courses, yes, but it's also taking notes from life itself. It also means learning from people. Every person you meet knows something you don't. Every conversation holds potential insight. When you listen with intention and speak with curiosity, you expand not just your knowledge but your perspective. You begin to understand how others think, how they see the world, and how they solve problems. That kind of understanding makes you not only more intelligent but more compassionate, more aware, and more equipped to lead and influence. A lifelong learner is never bored. They are never out of options. They don't need someone else to push them. They are fueled by an inner drive to grow. While others coast or complain, they keep climbing. They read when others scroll. They study when others sleep. They test, fail, and improve while others wait for the perfect moment. They understand that growth doesn't come from comfort, it comes from consistent, intentional learning. Over time, these daily choices compound. The books you read, the ideas you absorb, the conversations you engage in, they shape your mind. They sharpen your instincts, they multiply your value. While others remain the same, you evolve. And that evolution creates a gap in mindset, in skill, in opportunity. You rise not because you are lucky, but because you chose to keep learning while others stop. Eventually, you begin to teach not because you know everything, but because you've learned enough to help someone else. Teaching is simply another level of learning. When you share what you've gained, you deepen your own understanding and multiply your impact. You lift others as you rise. You become a source, a guide, a mentor. And your influence continues to grow not from force, but from wisdom earned through years of intentional learning. So never stop. Never believe you've arrived. Never assume you've mastered everything there is to know. The world is too vast and your potential is too great. Stay open. Stay curious. Stay hungry. Choose growth over comfort. Choose questions over certainty. Choose to be a student of life every single day. Because the person who keeps learning never stops growing, and the person who keeps growing becomes limitless. Self-discipline is the quiet strength that empowers every area of your life. It is not loud or flashy, and it does not need to be. It is a steady force, often unseen, yet always present in those who achieve anything meaningful. Self-discipline is the ability to do what must be done, when it needs to be done, whether you feel like it or not. And that single ability, mastering yourself, becomes the foundation for mastering everything else. With self-discipline, you gain control over your most precious resource, time. Time is the currency of life. You can't store it, and you can't earn more of it. Everyone gets the same 24 hours in a day, but how you use that time determines your direction. Self-discipline teaches you to guard your hours fiercely, to choose purpose over distraction, and to invest your minutes in what matters. It means waking up with intention, following through on commitments, and resisting the urge to waste time on things that don't serve your higher purpose. Time slips away easily, but discipline builds a dam that helps you direct your time instead of letting it leak through cracks of procrastination and laziness. Beyond time, self-discipline shapes your choices. Life is a series of decisions, big and small, that stack up to create your future. Without discipline, you make decisions based on emotion, impulse, or convenience. But with discipline, you create space between impulse and action. You begin to pause, to consider, to ask, will this choice move me forward or pull me back? Will it strengthen me or weaken me? Will it serve my goals or sabotage them? Discipline gives you the power to say no to temptations that look good in the moment but cost you in the long run. It gives you the strength to say yes to what's hard now but valuable later. It's easy to chase comfort. It's easy to avoid the difficult thing, delay the important task, or indulge the easy pleasure. But comfort is a thief in disguise. It steals your progress slowly. Self-discipline is what helps you break free from that trap. It reminds you that growth comes from challenge, that pain often precedes progress, that doing what's uncomfortable today creates a life that's easier and more fulfilling tomorrow. Discipline is your bridge from desire to achievement. Without it, dreams stay dreams. With it, dreams become results. One of the most powerful, yet often overlooked, aspects of self-discipline is emotional control. Emotions are powerful forces. They can drive action, shape perception, and influence behavior. But when left unchecked, they can also cause damage, lashing out in anger, giving up in frustration, quitting under fear, or sabotaging relationships out of insecurity. Self-discipline helps you step back and become the observer of your emotions instead of their slave. It gives you the ability to feel without being controlled, to acknowledge without reacting, to choose a response that reflects your values instead of your temporary state of mind. This emotional maturity is not the absence of feeling, it is the mastery of feeling. It's being able to say, I am angry, but I won't act out of anger. Or I feel doubt, but I will move forward anyway. It's the kind of control that gives you freedom not from emotion, but from being ruled by emotion. This freedom makes you stronger in every area: your work, your relationships, your self-worth. You become grounded, stable, and reliable, not because life is easy, but because you've trained yourself to remain steady. Ladies and gentlemen, the life you desire is not beyond reach. It is not reserved for the chosen few. It is waiting for you, yes, you to claim it, but it will not come by wishful thinking or idle dreams. It will come only when you transform your daily habits into powerful rituals that align with success. You see, success does not happen overnight. It is the result of what you do, day in and day out. Your habits are the blueprint of your destiny. If you want to change your life, you must first change what you do when no one is watching. Start with the habit of definite purpose. Know exactly what you want. Be specific. The mind, like a ship, must have a clear destination. Without one, it drifts, lost in the ocean of confusion. But when you focus on one chief aim and devote yourself to it with burning desire, you activate a force that begins to move heaven and earth to help you. Next, adopt the habit of persistent action. There is no substitute for effort. The road may be long. Obstacles will rise. Doubts will whisper. But remember this: the person who wins is not the one who never fails, it is the one who never quits. Every great achievement was once nothing more than a determined spirit refusing to give up. Then comes the habit of positive thought. You become what you dwell on. Thoughts are powerful, they shape your reality. Choose to believe in your ability. See every setback as a setup for a comeback. Surround your mind with belief, and your world will begin to reflect it. Embrace the habit of self-discipline. Success asks for sacrifice. It demands that you say no to the distractions and yes to your vision. Control your time. Control your emotions. Control your choices. When you master yourself, no obstacle will be too great, and no goal will be too far. Develop the habit of lifelong learning. Every day, feed your mind. Read, study, grow. The person who stops learning stops leading. When you sharpen your mind, you sharpen your results. Knowledge applied with purpose becomes power. And finally, practice the habit of gratitude. Be thankful for what you have, and you'll open the door to more. Gratitude shifts your focus from lack to abundance. It gives you strength in the struggle and peace in the process. Let today be the day you stop waiting and start transforming. You have the power. You have the vision. You have the ability. The habits you choose now will shape the life you live tomorrow. Choose wisely, choose boldly, and go forth unstoppable. There's a certain pride that comes from being disciplined. Not pride in a boastful way, but the deep inner pride of knowing you are someone who follows through. Someone who can be counted on. Someone who keeps promises to themselves. That kind of self-trust is rare, and it's incredibly powerful. When you trust yourself, you stop negotiating with excuses. You stop doubting your own word. You start believing that if you set your mind to something, you will make it happen, not because it's easy, but because you won't quit. Discipline also multiplies your freedom. Most people think freedom means doing whatever you want whenever you want. But that kind of freedom often leads to chaos, regret, and limitation. Real freedom comes from structure, from having the discipline to make wise choices that expand your options in the future. When you have financial discipline, you gain the freedom to invest, to give, to travel, or to take time off. When you have health discipline, you gain the freedom of energy, vitality, and longevity. When you have discipline in your work, you gain the freedom to lead, to create, and to influence. Freedom is not the absence of discipline, it is its reward. Self-discipline is not about perfection. It's not about becoming rigid or denying all pleasure. It's about being in control. It's about knowing when to indulge and when to abstain, when to rest and when to push, when to speak and when to stay silent. It's a balance that comes from self-awareness and strength of will. It's learning to lead yourself day in, day out until that leadership becomes automatic. And discipline is contagious. When you live with it, others notice. You become an example. You become the person who inspires without trying, who sets the standard without preaching. Your habits, your focus, your consistency, they speak louder than any words. You begin to raise the bar, not just for yourself, but for everyone around you. It's important to know that self-discipline is a muscle. You are not born with it. You build it. You start small. You train it daily. You make decisions that are slightly better than the day before. And every time you follow through, when you could have quit, every time you choose discipline over ease, that muscle grows. Over time, what once felt difficult becomes natural. What once felt impossible becomes part of who you are. In the end, self-discipline gives you something that nothing else can, the ability to shape your life deliberately, to design your future instead of defaulting into it, to lead yourself before trying to lead others. It sharpens your mind, strengthens your character, and aligns your actions with your deepest values. It may not always be easy, but it is always worth it, because when you master discipline, you master yourself. And when you master yourself, there is nothing you cannot create, achieve, or become. Persistent action is the great equalizer. It doesn't matter how talented you are, how much you know, or how much opportunity you're given. If you don't persist, you don't progress. It's not about doing everything perfectly or even quickly. It's about continuing to move forward when others stop. It's about taking one more step when your legs are tired, showing up again when yesterday was a failure, and staying committed to your vision long after the excitement has faded. Persistence is not flashy, but it is unstoppable. It outlasts resistance. It overcomes delay. It turns effort into results not through luck, but through sheer will. Persistence builds resilience because it forces you to confront obstacles instead of avoiding them. Every time you continue despite challenge, you grow stronger. You begin to understand that setbacks are not the end, they are tests. They ask you, how bad do you want this? And if your answer is to keep going, to adjust your approach, to dig deeper, you don't just move closer to your goal, you build internal strength. You become someone who doesn't crumble when things get tough. You become someone who can take a hit and still move forward. That toughness cannot be bought, borrowed, or faked. It is earned through experience, through effort, through refusing to give up. Adversity is part of every journey worth taking. The road to anything great is paved with difficulties. But it is in those very difficulties that character is formed. If you only take action when conditions are perfect, you will rarely act at all. Life does not wait for your convenience. It demands effort when you are tired, focus when you are distracted, and courage when you are afraid. Persistence teaches you to stop looking for the perfect moment and to start working with what you have. Because the truth is, most of the progress you make won't happen in ideal conditions. It will happen in the grind, in the sweat, in the daily decision to keep going. Every person who has achieved anything of significance has one thing in common. They did not stop. They failed, yes. They doubted themselves, yes. They made mistakes, struggled, faced rejection, and wanted to quit. But they didn't. They kept showing up. They kept learning. They kept adjusting. That's what separates them, not some magical gift or secret advantage, but the ability to stay the course. And the longer you persist, the more you learn. You start to see patterns. You start to recognize what works and what doesn't. Your effort becomes smarter. Your skills become sharper. Your instincts become keener. You don't just get better, you become better. Persistent action also creates momentum. At first, your efforts might seem small. Your steps might be slow. But like water carving stone, consistent action, over time, creates deep and lasting change. One action may seem like it doesn't matter. One step may seem insignificant, but compounded over days, weeks, months, and years, it becomes unstoppable. The person who keeps going, even slowly, will eventually surpass the one who started fast but quit early. Because motion creates motion, progress creates more progress. And with every step forward, the next one becomes a little easier. There is power in simply not quitting. While others are talking about what they want, you're doing the work. While others are complaining about how hard it is, you're moving forward anyway. Persistence doesn't need applause. It doesn't seek attention. It just keeps going. And because of that, it wins. When you make up your mind that you will not stop, no matter how long it takes or how hard it gets, you become a force. You stop hoping and start doing. You stop waiting and start creating. You don't need everything to go right. You just need to not give up when it goes wrong. Persistence transforms failure into fuel. Every setback becomes information. Every mistake becomes instruction. You stop fearing failure and start using it. You stop being discouraged by rejection and start being refined by it. This mental shift is what separates those who talk about success from those who live it. Because failure is not the opposite of success, it is part of it. And when you persist, you learn to fail forward. You begin to see that every challenge has something to teach you, and that lesson becomes part of your strength. Persistent action also inspires others. People watch what you do more than they listen to what you say. When they see you show up day after day, when they see you work through difficulty, when they see you stay committed long after the excitement is gone, it speaks louder than any motivational speech ever could. Your discipline becomes an example. Your resilience becomes a message: it's possible. If I can do it, so can you. You don't just change your life through persistence, you give others permission to believe in their own. One of the most important things persistent action gives you is clarity. As you keep moving forward, you begin to see what matters and what doesn't. You learn what you truly want, not just what sounded good in theory. You develop a deeper understanding of your purpose. This clarity makes your decisions easier, your focus sharper, and your energy more powerful. You stop being pulled in 100 directions and start building in one. But persistent action is not about rushing. It's not about burning yourself out or trying to force outcomes. It's about steady pressure, applied over time, with intention and patience. It's knowing when to push and when to pause, when to pivot and when to stay the course. It's about trusting the process even when you don't see immediate results. That trust is what separates dreamers from doers. Because the path to success is not linear, it's full of detours, delays, and doubts. But the person who persists keeps walking, and in the end they get there not because it was easy, but because they refuse to stop. Persistence doesn't require perfection. It just requires presence. It requires you to keep showing up, to keep trying, to keep believing even when it would be easier to give up. And the more you persist, the more you build your belief. You start to realize, if I've come this far, I can keep going. That belief becomes your fuel. It becomes your foundation, and it grows with every step you take. In the end, persistent action is not just about reaching a goal, it's about becoming the kind of person who doesn't quit. The kind of person who faces adversity and keeps rising. The kind of person who honors their word, who finishes what they start, who turns discipline into results. That kind of person becomes unstoppable not because they never fall, but because they always get back up. So no matter how slow it feels, no matter how long it takes, no matter how many times you stumble, keep going. Keep working, keep believing, because persistent action doesn't just move you forward, it transforms you. It strengthens your will, deepens your resilience, and shapes a version of you that you can be proud of. And in the end, when others have faded away and the noise has died down, it's your persistence that will remain. And it's that persistence that will carry you all the way to where you